Welcome back. It's Joseph for Zenny62. So recently I posted a vlog with regards to the Raiders receiving a temporary certificate of occupancy at Allegiant Stadium. Now, if you happen to look at the vlog, I basically explained to you that the temporary certificate of occupancy just allows the Raiders to officially go into the stadium, inspect it, to kind of do their own virtual checklist to see what things need to be done. And also, it allows them to essentially go in and maybe furnish their offices or maybe get into the details of putting the suites together. But by no means is it a permanent certificate, which would allow fans of the football teams, UNLV and the Raiders, but also it won't allow anybody currently to attend any concerts, which originally was scheduled in August for the Garth Brooks concert. Now, this is the question that I have for you. Would the Raiders would have been better off just staying in Oakland? For this reason, they have a stadium that's still not finished or complete. And if you read any of the local news reports in Las Vegas, even the ones in Las Vegas Review Journal, who tend just to promote positive things, which is fine, but they're not telling you everything behind the scenes, what's really going on with regards to the stadium. So even by their own reporting, they have admitted that the Raiders, as a backup, started to look at Utah as a potential place for the 2020 season. So if potentially they're looking for Utah as a backup, it's obvious they had every opportunity to get that stadium done, which originally I believe it was scheduled to be done in May, and it kept getting pushed back further and further because of the problems they had with the stadium, putting on a new roof that they never put on before. And that stadium wasn't originally designed to have a roof, so everything had to be retrofitted and redone architecturally, engineering specs wise. And so when you have a stadium that's in the rears in terms of paying the steel workers, earlier in the year there was a mechanics lien against Statco, which is the Raiders. And mechanics lien is basically a preemptive strike lawsuit, because even back maybe months and months ago, they were afraid they weren't going to get paid. And now we're in a financial crisis because of the COVID-19. So even if they get everything done with the COVID-19, Mark Davis himself said, well, I don't want to attend the Raider games nor have any fans come into the stadium if I have to pick and choose who decides to stay in the stadium in terms of allowing a certain amount of occupants in the stadium, because it's a sold out venue throughout the whole season. And so that's something I reiterated a long time ago was, well, who decides who gets to stay and who gets to go? And what are the ramifications of that? So regardless if your PSL was 500 or 5,000 or 25 or 50,000, are you to tell those PSL owners that you're not as valuable because you didn't pay as much? From an economic standpoint, that could be an argument that's made, but from a PR and fan standpoint, that's a horrible decision. So if the Raiders decided to stay in Oakland, these things wouldn't be happening. You already had a stadium, you already had a loyal fan base that, even though you have left essentially twice, once for LA, you came back, and now you're going back to Vegas, or going to Vegas. So again, you left the city of Oakland twice. Each time they accepted you back. Each time you had your loyal fans come out to the stadium that were dedicated and loyal to the brand, to the city. And it didn't matter how bad the season was with regards to the record, they always were Oakland Raiders supporters. Having said that, let's take an example that we can probably utilize. Let's say that the NFL decides, okay, we are going to have fans, Now, what we're going to do is limit the amount of fans that are in the stadium. Well, when you compare how many seats were at Oakland Coliseum as opposed to Allegiant Stadium, it would be a lot more feasible to have fans spread out a lot easier in Oakland than in Allegiant Stadium. Allegiant Stadium is a very small area where the stadium is built. It's a 65,000 seat stadium, yes, but if you haven't seen that parcel of land in person, you realize how small it was. There's nowhere to park. You have limited parking space right outside the stadium. But guess what? For those who even want to attempt to park there, I guarantee you that's going to be over $150 to park there because it's relatively close. There's not much of space available surrounding the stadium. So, as opposed to Oakland that had a huge parking lot, you had tailgaters, you had fans spread out, and essentially what you could have done in Oakland was you could have easily created a social distance scenario at the Oakland Coliseum. And worst case scenario, you had a huge, vast parking lot where you can utilize that parking lot for additional opportunities in case you couldn't fit all those fans in the stadium. So it's unfortunate that the Raiders had to leave California. I was totally against that because even to this day, I question what are pirates doing in the desert. You think about that Pirates of the Caribbean scene where the pirate ship is stranded in the desert and it's just landlocked. You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. Pirates have no business being in the desert. They should have stayed in the bay. They should have stayed where the loyal fan base would have supported you. As bad as the Coliseum was, as bad as the plumbing system was, as bad as possibly the internet system was, Raider fans are loyal. You had a huge Oakland fan base. You even had Southern California willing to make that trip because they're loyal to the Raiders. And that's the thing is that if you're a Raider fan, you're going to be loyal wherever they go. But I think that looking now at the optics of what's going on, not only with COVID-19, but the different delays and essentially issues with the Allegiant Stadium, although if you hear from other sources, there's nothing wrong with the stadium. But again, when you have somebody saying, well, it'll be substantially finished by July 31st, that doesn't mean you're ready to have any occupants in there. And then what does that substantial word mean? You know, if there's a 5 or 10% that needs to be done, and then you make the statement that we hope to be done by December, well, then to me, that 5 or 10% is quite substantial if it's going to take you possibly up to December to finish Allegiant Stadium. And then you have to go through the state and local officials to make sure that you do get a permanent certificate of occupancy. Now, having said that, all of this will happen, right? But these are more hurdles the Raiders have to go through, more hurdles the Raiders have to jump through. And the biggest hurdle of all are the finances. The finances are simply just not there. Again, let's hope for the best because if you're a Raider fan, you hope the best for your team. But let's be realistic. Let's look at everything that's in front of us and try to address those issues. And let's hope that moving forward, the Raiders, the Raiders Stadium Authority, and the construction company will be upfront and honest about where we're at in terms of the construction of Allegiant Stadium, where we're at financially with Allegiant Stadium, and what is going to happen moving forward with the satellite parking, and how are you going to allow fans to enjoy that tailgating experience that you used to enjoy in Oakland, or for that matter, even back in the day when they were in Los Angeles. Obviously, they don't want to have tailgating, or what they do, are they going to have it at the satellite parking spots? That hasn't been actually verified or substantiated, but at least at this point, we just don't know. But again, just to reiterate, I think when you look at the circumstances that the Raiders find themselves in now, I think ideally it would have been smart just to stay in Oakland, maybe seek out investors in the team. You have Silicon Valley there, you have tech, as Zenny pointed out several times, is that you could, or why didn't you inquire in that source? It's a great source for financial backing, and for whatever reason, that didn't happen. But if anything, keep it here on Zenny62, and don't forget to like and subscribe.